Hey, good morning, or good afternoon, or good evening, or whatever time you're getting up. I'm going to give a shot at doing a little YouTube video for the Art One students on how to draw the bottle. And I've never done this before, so excuse my unprofessionalism on it. I have my computer set up, I have everything. I put a little board here so that I can set my phone on so I can actually videotape what I'm drawing on the table. All right, so what I've done here is I've already done some of the measurements so I can move a little quicker. You know how those cooking shows do it, where you already have some things already done. So let me show you what I've done. Here I've measured, the paper is 8.5 inches wide and it's 11 inches long. That's standard copy paper, okay? And I just measured half of that. 8.5 is 4 1/4 right there, and I did that mark 4 1/4 here and here. Please don't fold your paper. I hate folded paper and lines, work that's folded. So once you create that, then you're going to draw a light line down the center of the paper. Ask your parents for help if you can't do this. And then from there, I create all of my other lines to do the base of the bottle. Now, the wine bottle, because this paper is shorter than normal, usually I do a 12-inch paper, but this is only 11 inches, so we're going to scale it down a little bit. So instead of having the bottle 3 inches wide and 1 inch wide up here, we want to do just short of 3 inches, and what I've done here is approximately 2 3/4 of an inch. How do I get that? Basically, what I do is, let's say I put my ruler right on 4 inches, or for the sake of the space here, let's put my ruler right on that 8, right? And I do 1 inch and 1, 2, 3, 1 inch and 1, 2, 3. And that gives me the measurement of 2 3/4 of an inch. Now I did that mark here, here, and here and here to make sure I have straight lines. I marked just less than 1/2 inch on both sides here and down here also to make sure I made straight lines. Okay, now what I did is I created my soft curve. Your hand does a natural pivot, so I turned my paper upside down, created this soft curve here, rounded off the edges to create the bottom of my bottle. Now from there, I have to create the top of the bottle. In my instructions, I tell you measure down 1/2 inch. I measured a little less than 1/2 inch. I did a fourth of an inch, and I went up 1/4 of an inch. Here's my 1/2 inch, but I did mine a little longer. All right. Now from there, I want to create the top of the bottle. Same thing. I have that slight little curve line. Okay. Try and make sure you have the same distance down on your curve, and then I bring this down a little bit. You have to look at your bottle on this one and see what you're seeing. I can see on my bottle a little bit of the opening, and that's because I'm tall. If you sit shorter than me, you might not see so much of the opening. And then I see this secondary curve line that comes in like here. And then I see another curve line here that creates like this ring. But I notice it doesn't look like the bottle. This bottle has a little more like these hips on it or something. So in order to create that, all you have to do is just come out here and draw a line just a little bit past your base line, just a little bit past over here, and the same distance past over here, and then connect it. Just connect it. And then you have the little hips on the ring of the bottle. Erase that old line that was in there. And now you can see how it looks more like the real bottle. Okay, that ring. Okay, now the curve of the bottle. Now my bottle, all bottles are not the same, so some of you may have like a very casual slope, a very slow slope, and some of you have bigger hips. These are actually called the hips on a bottle. Why? The bottle reminds most people of the shape of a woman, you know, very curvy on some and some not so curvy. So how am I going to develop this so that they're the same curve on both sides? Well, there's a little tool that I use or I made up here to help me out. Looks like my lines are a little crooked here. I want to check this real quick. Okay, yeah, something's a little off right here. I didn't measure this too well. All right, let me make that little correction. And sometimes, you know, you might be rushing and make that same mistake, or didn't have your pencil directly on top of that line when you made that line. And that's what can cause that. Wow, I missed the line again. Boy, I'm really off. Okay, there we go. So now, how do I create the curve? Well, some of your bottles, most bottles, the neck of the bottle is about 3 inches long. And at 3 inches is where you'll see the curve develop or start. Okay, so I'm going to go and stick to that right about here is where I'm going to see that curve start. Now, because I have several bottles that I can refer to, I'm just going to grab one. No, you did not hear a wine cooler or anything. So I'm just going to grab one, and I can see this nice, very fast curve as opposed to this one with a real soft curve. And now you understand what I'm saying. This with a gradual curve starts a little higher than 3 inches, and this is more like 3 inches where you see that curve. So I'm going to be drawing this bottle. You may end up with the other one, but whichever one you decide to use, don't worry, this system works for both. So I'm going to create this curve based on a bottle that I just looked at. And does it have to be perfect? No. Does it have to look like it? Yes. Okay. So I created my curve. Now, how do I get that same curve over here, you might ask? Did you ask? Okay, good. So I'm going to take this extra piece of paper, and I'm going to put it on top of, I turned it sideways by the way, I'm going to put it on top of the image that I've just drawn, but I'm going to make sure that it's lined up right on that line, right? And right to the top of the paper. Now I can see that curve through here, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the side of my pencil and I'm going to color or scratch or mark over that curve that I made, right? Then I'm going to remove it and I'm going to flip it over, and look, I can see the mark or the remnants of that. So now I'm going to flip it to the other side, line it up back on that line very carefully, make sure it's at the top of your page and on that line, because if you don't line it up, it could be slightly off. And before you start tracing, just look at it and ask yourself, am I seeing the same curve? Is it the same height and everything? If so, then go ahead and now trace that curve in, because the scratching that you put on the back side of this paper is going to, voila, give you your design. So now I can come back and I can fully draw back in that curve, and my bottle is now symmetrical. It's a really nice design, nice bottle. Could have done a better job, but that's good enough. Okay, so from there we have to go to the next step in adding our label. Now remember, the label wraps around the bottle. I see a lot of people that do something silly like doing this, and that's not proper. That's not right. Labels go around the bottle, even though it's not it doesn't go totally around. Sometimes you might see the front of the label. Sometimes you might just see a side of the label. So I'm going to show you how to master that and how to make that label. Just straighten out my bottle. So the curves on these labels and the bottom almost always the same type of curve that you're going to see at the bottom of your bottle. Same type of curve, same type of curve. So I'm just going to put in here just a couple of curves, just so you can see that the curve is almost always about the same. Okay, so regardless of how high or how low your label may be, you know, those curves should be about the same. The higher up they go, the flatter the curve gets. It doesn't curve as much. When it gets down here, it's a bigger curve. When it's up here, the curve flattens out a little bit. Okay, so let's say for argument's sake, I'm looking at how far up the bottom of my bottle is the bottom of that label. Okay, so I'm saying that this is about where mine is. So I'm going to pull that in. And my label is a large label, a tall label, long label, so I'm going to bring it all the way up to here. Okay? And make sure you make it look like it's going around the bottle. It's not just going to a corner. Okay? So if your label is full, go ahead and draw it all out. But if you have a view where you're only seeing a part of the label, you can stop it right here and just go ahead and draw your label in, and then get rid of the rest. And it's very simple. We've created the label on our bottle. Now, one of the things I want to warn you against is try not to erase too much, because remember, erasing on the paper damages the surface of the paper, or the surface quality of the paper. So when I erase, I'm erasing very lightly, and that's why I also tell you to put very light lines in to start with. Okay, so our curve, our label looks very nice. It's a nice curve. And then most times you have like this little plastic piece up here that's sealed. You have to look and determine how long yours is right there. Okay, and I've placed that on there. Now we're ready to start shading. All right, so everything's good. We check everything. Everything looks nice. It looks like a real bottle and everything. So now we want to move to the next step. Now the next step, you want to prepare your pencil the right way. And what I mean by that is that the pencil should have a blunt end to it. It should not be a sharp point. So how do I do that? I want to lay my pencil. I don't want to have my pencil standing up like this. I want to lay my pencil down further. It might not feel comfortable at first, but I want to lay it down and then keep scratching until I can see these nice fat lines. See that? Nice fat lines. That's going to give you some smoother shading. So now what I want to do is I want to put my lightest tones down on my bottle first, and I'm trying to make this as smooth as possible and not scratchy. I'm not taking, I'm not rushing. I'm taking my time. I almost said I'm not taking my time. I am taking my time. I'm smoothly coating it. Every now and then you get like this weird feeling, like sometimes you might get a little pebble or rock in the pencil. Just check that and make sure that is giving you a good quality. And you notice how that line down the center of my page just disappeared. I'm feeling something in my pencil. I'm going to scratch that out so I'm not getting that. Yeah, that feels much better. Sometimes you can hear it when it's just bad. Cheap pencils. Anyway, so I put down this nice light tone and try and do it as smoothly as I can. In some cases, just follow the shape of the bottle, as you're starting to put some tones in and everything. But you want to get this lightest tone down on the entire bottle first. If your label is white, don't touch it. If your label is dark, go over that as well. Okay? So once you create that tone over the whole bottle, here's the next bottle that I'm like the cooking show. And you can see how I started working some of these darker tones in. You may see some streaks and dark tones within the bottle, and you might want to start trying to put some of those streaks in. Look very carefully at the direction and how you see those streaks. Some of them curve with the bottle, some of them define the shape of the bottle. So you want to start putting some of those tones in, and just start working in these darker tones on the edge. So I have my lightest tone, and then I start my mid tones, and then you'll get to a point where you're going to start putting in your real heavy tones, your dark tones. Now I'm going to skip ahead because I'm not going to complete this whole tutorial or this whole video, and I'm going to scratch in on the edge very dark tones here so that you can see how I take those very dark tones, a very sharp line. Sometimes I tell people, take a piece of paper, put it over if you made a bad line, and then erase with that paper, and you give a nice crisp line. See that, how it's nice and sharp? Beautiful. Okay, good finish. And then what I want to do is I have to blend this in so it doesn't look like a hard line and then a stop. So what I'm going to do, making sure I'm on a flat part of my pencil again, I'm just going to softly blend that in to the other tone that I have and try and get rid of that line. Just going to blend that in Just try and soften. And do I have to go in any particular direction, Miss Ernie? No. Everybody develops their own technique. It's kind of like handwriting. You develop your own technique and what works best for you. So I'm not prescribing to you have to do it this way or you have to do whatever. Look, if you can draw with your nose or your tongue and it comes out better than drawing with your fingers, oh well, go for it. I wouldn't advise it, but go with it. So you can see here how I've blended those tones together. You don't see a hard line or hard finish anymore. That's the quality that you're looking for. Now, in cases you're going to see a lot of light sources, I tell people, sometimes you might want to just not shade that area of the paper. And you notice I don't smudge, I don't wipe my hand across the paper because it's going to end up smudging your work, and I like your work to be clean. So I'm going to create this light source by just defining the area around it darker and just exposing that light source. See that? And create the light that I've seen shining on the bottle. And what you need to do is just go ahead and look at the dark areas and the light areas. What are you seeing here? I'm seeing this nice little dark, rich area under here. Seeing a very, very black, dark opening in here. And you'll start to see how the shape starts to come together. Now remember, you're working with some basic shapes. This is your cylinder. Remember, you did this shape in the last exercise. This again is a cylinder. You did that shape. How do I make the cylinder look round? Follow the shape of the object. Bring vertical lines and diagonal curved lines, in order to create the illusion that it's round. You need to shade the object in a round manner. Otherwise, it's going to look flat. Okay, so you see me scratching in some tones coming across here, and I intentionally leave some of the lines to force your eye to follow that line, and I want you to see, this is being round, so I bring in some of these round little hash marks, very soft, very light, it's like subliminal thinking, make you see it, or you will see it as being round. I know, corny, whatever, I'm bored. Okay, so this is what you want to do. Work your bottle up, do the best that you can. I have confidence and I have faith in you and your ability to do it. You will succeed or you will fail. Bye.